Welcome to my channel. We are starting a new series here covering the manga, Say Hello to Jack Black by Sato Shuho. Before we begin, we would like to thank the author who made the series possible by releasing this manga into the public domain. You are a wonderful man and we hope that you have a prosperous life. If you want to know more about Sato Shuho, we would be linking articles about him in the description below. Please like and subscribe. Our chapter begins with a man giving a speech addressing the graduates of Iraku University Medical School. 8,000 people each year, 8,000 people pass final exams from the 81 medical universities of the country. Among them, you are the top 80. Japan's medical system's future lies in your hands. The graduates stood tall and proud in front of the man. The scene cuts to an operating room inside Iraku University Hospital. "You look tired, Sato," asked a voice. "Yes, I just ended my shift," another voice replied. The page reveals that the voices came from two interns having a talk. "I have been here for 24 hours since yesterday morning." "Me too. I was helping the professor with his experiments." "I've only slept for 3 hours," said one of the men who had noticeable dark lines under his eyes, perhaps due to sleep deprivation. The other man simply replied with, "Then I win. I've only slept for 2 hours," revealing the face of our protagonist. His face is smiling and still full of energy despite his lack of sleep. "It's been 3 months since the Iraku Medical School graduation. I am now an intern at Iraku University Hospital." "Shiu," Sato hummed while injecting something into the body of a patient being operated on. "Hey Sato! Don't make that face each time we do an injection." One of the staff scolded him while watching. An intern is basically a trainee. To become a doctor, you must go through 6 years of studying in a university of medicine. And then pass a final national exam. However, this national exam is merely to test whether you have the knowledge to become a doctor. There is no actual training. Thus those who received their degree need an additional 2 years of training in a university hospital or in a clinic. "Open the trachea wider," one of the staff ordered Sato, to which he replied immediately, "Yes." The page now cuts to a meal inside a cafeteria. "I hate how I can enjoy a meal so much after surgery." "Hey Sato." The man in front of him doesn't seem to be enjoying his meal as much as him. "At this rate I'm gonna lose my humanity." Sato continued to slurp happily at his meal with a smile on his face. "What are you saying? We are the ones carrying Japanese medicine's weight." The man simply stared at him without saying anything. "My average day's work is 16 hours and the wage is 38,000 yen. Which is approximately equal to $343 US. Sato was contemplating about his job while riding a bicycle on the street. "I'm talking per month, not per day. And this is just not in my hospital. In some national hospitals the wage is a bit higher, but 70% of the interns that practice in private hospitals earn less than 100,000 yen per month, which is about $900. It's impossible to live with this sort of wage. You can't afford food or rent." This explains why Sato travels around in his bicycle instead of using public transportation. The scene changes to nighttime inside a hospital. "Well then, Sato-kun, thank you for taking the part-time job in this hospital tonight." Sato Ajiru, 25 years old, graduate of Iraku Medical School. "This is your first time working here?" A man with glasses, who is presumably the director of the hospital, addressed him. "Iraku University, eh? You're an elite." "Yes," Sato answered with a really stern face. "I will work hard to uphold Iraku's reputation." The director smiled at his enthusiasm. "As it is your first night, I put you with another doctor. He will explain how things work here." "Well, good luck." Sato is about to experience the reality of the medical field. "Nice to meet you, my name is Sato. I'm from Iraku University and I will be making rounds tonight." He greeted as soon as he enters the door, but no one replied. Instead he only sees a man furiously eating a meal from a bowl. I am Sato from Iraku University. He repeated his greeting, to which the man stopped eating and replied without turning. Eat. Eat while you can. And then sleep, sleep while you can. The man leaves for the restroom, leaving Sato alone in the room. Still alone in the room, Sato checks the records of the hospital. Saito Hospital, 120 beds. It's a big hospital whose location is very important in the area. 3 doctors on staff. The first man I met was the director, and the other guy is Ushida-san. Tonight I will be working with Ushida-san. Sato is then interrupted by a ring from a phone, and the scene quickly changes to a patient being rushed in a stretcher. It hurts, cried the patient. Quickly, this is war. Ushida-san screamed at Sato. Yes. The patient is a 20-year-old man. He was in a motorcycle accident 30 minutes ago. His left leg was fractured, shouted one of the nurse. Ushida-san then orders. I want a blood count, blood chemistry, and blood type stat. 10 bags of erythrocytes. Iraku. Infuse 1000 milliliters of Lactec intravenously. Sato obeyed while his hands are shaking. Faster, Iraku. And when you have that done, do a cross match. Some time passes and the operation is complete, and now the 2 men are talking in the hallway. I'm sorry. Sato apologized. I was completely useless. There's no time to be down, Ushida-san replied. The night is just beginning. Another ring and another patient was being rushed in a stretcher. This time it is a woman screaming loudly. Ushida-san. The pressure is dropping. The woman continues to scream. Shut up and keep on with the transfusion, was the doctor's reply. If she has the strength to scream this much, then she's fine. Some time passes again and another ring. An accident. The patient has been struck in the chest and has difficulties breathing. This is the 3rd patient being rushed this night. It's a man of about 60 years old. He was hit by a car while crossing the street and is unconscious. Ushida-san is amazing. Sato thought while running towards another operation. He's amazing. More time passes and it was morning already. The tired Ushida-san, while smoking a cigarette, slouches next to a cheerful Sato. Why are you smiling? Ushida-san asked. This hospital is amazing, answered Sato. They never refuse an ambulance. Don't act like an amateur, geez. Sato only looked with confusion, to which Ushida started to explain how things work in the hospital. Medical work is billed with points. An enema is 42 points. Drawing blood, 12. Social Security pays doctors according to the number of points. Each point is 10 yen. Sato muttered, but Ushida-san only continued. Now, in case of an accident, things are different. Because the bill isn't paid by the Social Security but by the car insurance companies. Here we have absolute liberty. The hospital can decide how much it wants each points to be worth. You mean that? Starting to realize, Sato asked. When you are dealing with a traffic accident, you can make them pay as much as you want. Ushida-san took a moment before answering. You haven't realized yet. We only accept traffic accident patients. A dark shadow fell upon Sato's face as Ushida-san continued. This hospital makes them pay 40 yen a point for this type of patient. This means we earn 4 times than normal. Everything we do is for the money. This isn't a charity. The scene moves to Sato walking his bicycle. I earned 80,000 yen. In only one night of work, I earned more than double my monthly wage as an intern. Back in Iraku University Hospital, the medical staff at the beginning of our chapter is talking with Sato again. Last night, I only slept 3 hours again. Interns are the most unhealthy people in the world. And, did your part-time job go well? Sato answered with an unenergetic. Yeah. A nurse rolled in a stretcher with a body covered with white cloth. "Who was that?" Sato asked. "We lost another one," the other intern replied. The scene cuts again to the two interns at the rooftop of the hospital. "Should I accept this money? This 80,000 yen. "Sure you can, you earned it, didn't you? But, this money. I don't want to become corrupt," Sato said with a stern face. The other intern looked up before speaking. "You know, honestly, I never thought about wanting to become a doctor. But I got caught up in the exam war and just tried to do better and better. And when I came to, I was a doctor. But what exactly is a doctor?" Nighttime again at Saito Hospital. Sato was back at his part-time job. "This time I'll pay you 100,000 yen. "What?" Sato was shocked by this offer. The director and Sato was looking outside of the window. "From this night on, you will be by yourself. If you think it's not enough, I can pay you more." "No, it's not that. You're afraid of staying by yourself. There are currently 240,000 doctors in Japan. What do you think of that?" Sato thought about this before answering. "There is a doctor for every 500 people. That compares well against any other developed country. I think it's impressive." The director smiled while looking down. "An obvious answer, but you have forgotten something important. The number of hospitals. In Japan, there are a lot of doctors but also a lot of hospitals and clinics. Therefore in a hospital of this size, we only have 3 doctors practicing. This means that the number of doctors per hospital is very low." With a sad face, Sato replied to the director. "I know that. Doctors are human beings, we have families. With only 3 doctors working every day, it's impossible for them to work at night too." Once again, Sato was alone in the hospital room. "I felt like I was doing something wrong," he thought. "But I needed money to live," while crumpling the money in his hands. At night, the interns worked the hospitals. It's not an unusual phenomenon, except in university hospitals. It's something common in hospitals throughout Japan. If you don't want to die, do not get in a car at night. If you get in an accident, the probability of having an experienced doctor treat you is very low. This is the night of our country. According to a survey done in the 79 university hospitals that are in Japan, only 2% of them have forbidden their interns to work in another center. And 80% of the interns who have worked have done so by themselves. Moreover, more than 90% of these interns working alone have done their job while feeling unprepared. This was from a survey of the Japanese Independent Federation of Medical Students. The page turns to a gruesome car crash. An accident, a man in his 20s. Internal and external wounds, possible fractures throughout the body. Level 30, breathing, 24, pulse, 120. Hurry up Central. We are ready to leave. Meanwhile Sato is waiting in front of a telephone which suddenly rang. Immediately Sato's face showed an expression of being ready. A nurse runs with a stretcher immediately. "We're all ready. The ambulance arrives in 10 minutes. Doctor, we have to go the operating room quickly." "I know," Sato answered. He was making a phone call. "Ah, hello. Dr. Ushida." "Hey, it's Ushida. I'm not at home at the moment. If you want to leave a message." Unfortunately the doctor was sleeping. "Get up Dr. Ushida. There is an emergency, we need to operate." Sato cursed while putting the phone down. With no other choice Sato started disinfecting his hands. "It's here. The ambulance has arrived." The patient this time was in a terrible condition, worse than the previous ones. Tears can be seen from the patient's eyes. Sato inspected the patient with sweat running down the side of his head. The nurses looking at him waiting for any orders. "Internal ruptures. Sato tried to make another phone call, but this time it was to the director, which is only directed to his answering machine. I'm not home at the moment. If you want to leave the message, leave it after the beep. What's wrong with the doctor? He's not coming back. The two nurses was left with the patient with no orders. Sato is still unsure what to do. Curses, the director isn't home either. It's impossible. His liver is destroyed and there's a puncture in the digestive system too. I have never done such a major operation. What shall I do? He's gonna die. It's impossible. Meanwhile, back in the operating room, a nurse was shocked by the sudden appearance of the director. Director, the head nurse called me. He had a very unpleasant look in his face. With the aid of the two nurses, the director proceeded with the man's operation. It was a very serious operation, yet Sato was not present during this time as he remained hidden in a corner somewhere. Some time passes and it was already morning. Sato heard footsteps coming, which was revealed to be from the director. So you were here, Sato-kun. He had a very disappointed look in his face. Ah, air. How is the patient? The director didn't answer but gave a question of his own. Why didn't you operate? Sato couldn't respond to this. If you don't do anything, he will die. If he's going to die, then you might as well open his belly. But, if I failed? If I failed, it would be murder. It's better than not doing anything. You would have abandoned the patient. Sato showed a really angry face while shaking, so he shouted at the top of his lungs, no. It's the fault of the hospitals that leave an intern like me all by himself during the night. If there aren't enough doctors, you shouldn't take in all these ambulances. Is the money all you cared about, director? And the director wasn't affected by this. He looked down on Sato with a cold expression. We save lives. What is wrong with making money from that? Plus, what does the fact that I make money have to do with why you didn't operate on the patient? You are a doctor. Whether you're a novice or inexperienced, to the patients, you are a doctor. If the operation fails, it's murder. The one at fault is the one who caused the accident. You must operate. Forget about nice-sounding ethics. Being right means being weak. And being strong means being bad. From the moment you received your doctor's degree, you were no longer a normal person. You are a doctor. Become strong. These are the words of the director to Sato, who was still crying with a really angry face. The scene now changes to Sato sitting in a hallway of the hospital. Morning, hey Iraku. Ushida-san. Sorry about last night. I was knocked out and didn't hear the phone. The more experienced doctor apologized with a big grin on his face. What's wrong, you're down again. Sato explained what happened the previous night. A long time ago, I rebelled too. I told the director his way was wrong. That medicine wasn't only a means to earn money. I still thinks it's wrong, but, pushing what you thinks is right doesn't change anything. He will continue to save lives. And that is reality. The voice of a happy mother can be heard on the background. You're alive. You're alive, Hiroshi. In the end, Sato only asked himself a question. What is a doctor? What did you think of this chapter? Do you think Sato is right not to operate on the patient, or is that he should have tried as the director said? Put your opinion in the comments below.